Hello my dears, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today I've got another book talk video to share with you guys. And today we are going to be talking about the latest book from author Kathleen Winter, and that is Lost in September. Now before I get into too much of talking about this book in particular, I just wanted to share a little bit with you about my history with Kathleen. Now, for anyone that's been around my channel for any length of time, you know that I am from the small island on the east coast of Canada called Newfoundland. We grew up there, and during that time my family knew Kathleen's family. My aunt is a piano teacher in the small town where we grew up in Holyrood, and she taught Kathleen's daughter piano, and then my sister was in Kathleen's daughter's class. And we just, we knew them, and we knew of them, and we'd see them around. And one day, I think I saw it at the library, because when I was a kid, you guys, I was always at the library. And I saw there was like a little notice posted on the wall saying that writer Kathleen Winter would be doing a writer's workshop for teenagers. And so I signed up, and two of my really close friends signed up, and we met on, I believe it was a Saturday. So I think it was like 2 Saturdays or 3 Saturdays in a row. And we'd go in to the room, and Kathleen would sort of give us a topic idea. And then she'd have all of us write short little blurbs about it, like little, I don't know what you'd call it. I kind of want to call it like little essays, but they were much shorter than that. And then we'd move on to the next topic, and we'd write about that. And when we were done with these blurbs in the workshop, Kathleen put them into a little book, and technically it was my first time ever being published, and it was so exciting and so fun. And the books, I still have my copy of our book. It was called The Newfoundland Cloudmaker, and that was, the title of the book is one of the titles of one of the stories in here. And it was just so fun. So I just really want to show you. So on the inside here, all of us kids who contributed to the book, we signed it, because you never know. And it was just so much fun. And then there's a little blurb here on the front, on the first page. I don't know if you can read it there. But I'll read it to you. It says, The Newfoundland Cloudmaker is a compilation written and edited by the following members of the Writer in the Library workshop held at Holyrood Public Library in the winter of 1995-96 with writer Kathleen Winter. And this was something that was so special to me. Clearly, I keep it close at hand even to this day. And because of that, getting to know her, and actually her brother was there as well, who is also a very celebrated writer right now, very talented. They're both wildly talented. And he was there, and he helped us put the books together. And yeah, so because of that, I remember that workshop so vividly. And as, a writer, it was something that just really inspired me, and seeing her and talking to her and getting to learn from her was so inspiring, that as the years have gone by and she's put out more books, and I've watched her gain such traction and such a following, and receive so much praise, and be so just appreciated for what a talented writer she is. That's been so fun. A few years ago, she put out one book called Annabelle, which I've talked about in a previous book talk video, so I won't get too into it here and now, but it is absolutely one of my favorite books. And if you ever get the chance to read it, you absolutely should. And now with her latest novel, Lost in September, I was so excited to get to sit down and read this, and already, like, it's been nominated for awards just as Annabelle had been, and it's very interesting. Now, the thing I am going to say as we now transition into talking about Lost in September is that this is a very difficult book to quickly and concisely describe to someone. The other day I was out for coffee with my mom, and I told her I just finished Kathleen's new book, and she said, "Oh, what's it about?" And I was like, well, it's about a lot of things, and it's very hard to tell you about them without kind of recounting the entire novel. But let's see how we can do. So the book starts off with a preface written by a woman named Jenny, who has written a book about General James Wolfe, who was a soldier in the British Army, who's kind of credited in history as having a very big, significant part in Britain's victory over France. And there was a battle that was fought in the 1700s in I want to say 59. 59. Let me just check that. Let me just check this here because I want to make sure I get the dates right. Yes. In September of 1759. So there was this battle that took place in what is now Quebec, and it was during this battle that not only did Quebec fall into being owned by Britain, it also was where General James Wolfe died. So we start off, this woman has written this book about his life, and she's bringing her letter to his grave to rest there. And she is placing the letter and a copy of the manuscript on his grave. Then the book jumps into present day Montreal, and we meet a man who claims that he is General James Wolfe. He's a homeless man in his 30s, and he's sort of bunking with this woman named Sophie, who kind of acts as like a therapist for him, although she's also homeless. And for a long time in the book, we don't know what exactly is going on. We don't know who this man is. We know that he seems to think that he is General James Wolfe, but like, we know that's not a thing. This isn't a time travel story. We don't know who it is. And I'm just going to read you a little blurb that I read in the Globe and Mail, which is a newspaper here in Canada. I want to read to you how the first paragraph in their review of this book, because they sum it up quite nicely, and they just say it better than I ever could. So this was written by a man named Spencer Gordon for the Globe and Mail. And it starts like this. It says, "It's perhaps appropriate for a novel about PTSD, and specifically PTSD as the result of armed conflict, and how some sufferers are unable to recall pivotal aspects of their traumas. That Lost in September is shrouded in narrative fog. It's difficult to describe, sort of. But as with many peculiar books, it's worth your time. Evocative, humane, and maybe totally original." That sums this book up. I would need hours to fully get into the wheres and whys of this book. But it's a book about PTSD. It's a book about what happens to soldiers when it's all done. It's worth the read. I will say I found some parts, especially in the second half, I kind of had to force myself to get through, just because it felt it dragged a little bit at times. But I needed that payoff. I needed to know who he was and what he did. But no matter what, even during those times when it was a little dragging, Kathleen is such a beautiful writer. Her prose, the way her stories flow, they're so lovely, and there's something almost musical about it, even when it's, a theme that's as gritty as, post-traumatic stress disorder of soldiers who have fought in wars and battles. And it's truly a beautiful book. and it's written as only Kathleen can write. And all of the awards and all the buzz this book has gotten, especially around the Canadian literary scene, to me, once I finished the book, it was so worth it. I found the more I sat with it when I was done reading it, the more it hit me. Once I read that final page, closed the book, put it aside, I was like, okay, all right. And then, like, the next day, I was driving somewhere and the entirety of the story just kind of hit me, and it made me really emotional when I thought of it. So it's kind of that kind of story that the more it sort of simmers with you, the more it hits you. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this book. Now, before I end this review, please stop watching if you don't want the spoilers. I'm gonna give the little spoiler here for the people who I know love to watch my videos and hear the story, but just want to know what that end payoff is. So if that's not you, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in Monday's video. So for those of you who are wondering what was going on, what was happening, clearly he's not General James Wolfe from 1750, you know, who died in 1759. No, he's not. And we don't even really get to know who he is, because his identity, in the end, isn't important. We do, however, find out that he was a soldier in Afghanistan, and he's back now suffering very much from post-traumatic stress disorder. But aside from learning that, and a little about his mom, and a little tiny bit about one of his friends who was a soldier with him, we don't learn much about him, and it's not important. But yeah, so it's a wonderful book, and if you get the chance to read it, I hope that you do. Thanks so much for watching, you guys, and I will see you on Monday with the Tea Talk video. Bye, guys.